thank BADF first for having this forum. I think it's so important when we have so many great candidates that we're allowed to come together and offer you our vision for BA10 all in one place. Because I know the voters' voice is so important, and so I hope you guys get a lot of information from us, and we have a good election in June. So my name is Julia Biggins, and I live in Prince William County, and I am running for Congress to unseat Barbara Comstock for 4 basic reasons. 1, I'm a Democrat, obviously. 2, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and I'm a scientist. And so I have always had a love of science for as far back as I can remember. I even enjoyed and looked forward to the annual science fair in junior high. I know it's that time of year. Many of you are probably, dragging your kids through the process, but I enjoyed it. And then even moving into high school, there was a Saturday Scholars Program, so I would wake up early and go learn, as a high school kid, go learn about science. And that curiosity kind of pushed me to go to college and pursue a degree in microbiology, and then immediately enter a program, a PhD program at Baylor College of Medicine for molecular virology. And there I was fortunate to study HIV transmission. And I found that to be scientifically very rewarding because I was able to answer some basic questions about a very complex virus that has affected millions of people for decades. And so it was really great to do that kind of work. And following that, I moved on to being a contractor with the United States Army at Fort Detrick in Maryland. USAMRIID is there. And so there I led a team of other scientists to develop vaccines and therapies for the Ebola virus. That was my next challenge. And that was a very exciting experience scientifically and personally to put that blue space suit on and work with a dangerous pathogen. And personally, that experience was very rewarding because not only was I developing vaccines for our American troops, but some of the work I did was used to directly treat those infected in the 2014 West Africa outbreak. So that was just really great to participate in the community of infectious disease that way. And so currently I work at a small biotech. I'm still working while campaigning because I think it's so important to continue with our scientific mission. And I'm looking at things like influenza and Zika and developing vaccines for those. And so during this time that my career was flourishing, my family was coming along as well. In 2015, I had my 4th child, and my husband and I were beyond blessed with our life. And we were working hard to instill the values of acceptance, honesty, respect, hope, integrity, all of those things. And thankfully that was being mirrored on the national stage in President Obama's administration. And then, like many of you I'm sure, 2016 came along, and it just started to get that feeling that the world was turning upside down. And so the election and then the inauguration of President Trump confirmed that reality. To me, it demonstrated a step backwards in the progress our country had made. And so to counter that, I took to the streets of Washington, D.C. with my fellow women for the Women's March on January 21st. And that marked the first time I was really considering standing up, literally getting out of the lab, setting aside my research to do something for our country. And I began to think about the words of President Obama during his farewell speech, where he said, if you don't like something that's going on, lace up your shoes and do some organizing. If you don't like your elected official, grab a clipboard, get some signatures like we're all doing today, and run for office. Dive in, show up, persevere. And so I really took those words to heart, and as I started to see some of the first actions that the administration took were to silence public sharing of science at the USDA and the EPA. That really caught my attention. And then the continued actions of the administration to fail to have a science advisor for an entire year under which, during the administration, and to install the likes of Scott Pruitt at the EPA and nominate individuals who are not only not qualified to head scientific agencies such as the CDC, NOAA, or Department of Energy. Some of these individuals run counter to the mission of these agencies. And so I really started to fear for the future of our country. And a lot of times I get asked, why science, why Congress, why are you doing this? And I explained that science is the underpinning of our modern society. If we didn't have our scientific research and put the authority in it that we have today, we would not be making those types of leaps to make us the global leaders. And so I think we as scientists and as citizens are the ones performing the research, and so we have a duty to stand up and protect it. And that's why I'm standing up to protect science, protect the environment, and for our children moving forward. And I think scientists are well suited to serve in Congress. Every day we're battling complex questions. Science is incredibly difficult. You know, we're fighting with each other to come to a common solution, and we follow the data open. And honestly, we have nothing to hide. And most scientists, we don't really bow down to special interest. We're just there to do the science and move on for the knowledge. And I also believe that scientists are the perfect public servant. We're there answering questions about various types of science for the greater good. We're not doing it for our own ego, for our own money, definitely not the money, if you know scientists. And also in my field, infectious disease, we're finding cures and treatments for diseases that affect all populations around the world, not even in this country. So our mission is to do for others. And so I think that will translate well into Congress and into the political arena. And scientists are also very good at taking a complex problem, distilling it down, and implementing it, which I think happens quite often in legislation. So one topic I wanted to touch on briefly before my time's up, and I want to make sure I have time for questions too, is one thing that is very important to me is our healthcare system. And I would, just to give you a few points about that, if elected to Congress, I would continue to push for that single-payer system. And I think within that, we need to make sure the government is allowed to negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceuticals. We're one of the only countries that doesn't do that. And you see how high our pharmaceutical prices are compared to the rest of the world. And in addition to making sure we have that kind of healthcare, I want to make sure we're focused on preventable and healthcare prevention. And so that we're putting the research dollars into the medical research programs so that we're coming up with the correct therapies and treatments and things for infectious disease or things like cancer and diabetes, so that we can catch them early on rather than moving on to the long-term treatments that cost so much money. And then also, of course, I would fight for affordable and accessible healthcare, but I also want quality healthcare. And to me, that means boosting up our doctors and our nurses so that they have the support they need in the hours they work, counseling when they have difficult patients, and trying to get STEM education into the schools as early as possible so that we can boost up the next generation of doctors and nurses. I'm all for universal pre-K, but let's have STEM research, or STEM education during that too, at an age-appropriate level. So that's just one topic I would be fighting for. And so I hope you'll join me in this fight against the anti-science administration. I believe we need more scientists, and more than more scientists, we need a greater diversity in Congress. I'm running as a scientist, but also because I believe we need more doctors, more engineers, farmers, teachers, because we all saw in the 2017 election what a diverse slate of candidates we elected to Richmond. And so I think our national representatives should be the same. Our representatives should look like us, should have similar experiences to us, should be women, should be different religions, different ethnicities. I think that is what the framers were looking for when they talked about a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so I truly want to be a representative, but I can't do it alone, and I hope you will join me and help me by knocking on doors for canvassing, by considering a donation, and also by giving me your vote when the time comes. So I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, good afternoon. Jasmine Mowell Orientals. I'm running for Virginia Senate District 13 next year. It's been happening, thank you.
Appreciate it. It's been very crazy. 2 shutdowns. And Democrats are working hard. Nancy Pelosi, 8 hours. Love those shoes. I want to have them. Yeah. And I want to know, because you are from Prince William. And 10 years ago, we had the G287. I don't know if you're familiar with that, with Corey Stewart. A lot of discrimination. As an immigrant, we all are immigrants, by the way. We came different times. But now, I feel that this is a time that has to be done more for union, more for pushing immigration reform that can help people that come here and work and have families. And I feel demonized as an immigrant. I want to know what's your opinion and what would you do once you come to Senate if that happens. And also, because I am an immigrant that comes with a background that is Palestinian. So I'm not just advocating for Spanish immigrants that everybody thinks of. I'm advocating for the people that it was part of also the Muslim ban. What is your opinion?
Sure. So I am, in general, in immigration policy, I'm fully in support of the Dreamers and having a clean path to citizenship under DACA, and even going so far as to include what I think President Obama originally wanted to do, not just the age cutoff, but many more undocumented people to have a path to citizenship. I'm also completely against a travel ban, as it's in place right now under President Trump. The idea of banning people from countries based on their religion is perfect to me. I think that has no place in this country. And, you know, I agree with you. I'm Irish, and so a century ago or more, my ancestors were immigrants, and they were not treated well when they first came here. And I so much believe that immigrants are a fabric of our community, and they are our neighbors, they're our doctors, they're everywhere, and that we can't shun them or put them aside anymore. And like I said, I'm fully in support of DACA, and I was even earlier this week up outside Barbara Comstock's office in Sterling when they had the rally for DACA. So I would be in support of that. Thank you.